I told you to keep your head on a swivel. I told you that we were working on 2 stories. One, we were going to drop in our early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes from members only. And then another one in which we were going to come on live. Once we got the go-ahead. We got the go-ahead on the Notre Dame story. We haven't gotten the go-ahead on the other one, in which we're going to start with a drop in early peak Cloak and Dagger. So become a member. If you get a chance, an opportunity, become a member of this Rebel Outpost channel. But tonight, an exclusive, Notre Dame's future as an independent, a football independent. There is no question here at Peek Around the Corner, it is going to be threatened. Nothing is imminent. But, and we're going to get to the big but in our show. Welcome. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content, and share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to donate, support this channel through a donation, this Rebel Outpost for college football sickos
like you, hit the dollar sign where you make a comment, and I'll get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your phone calls, with your chats in the chat room, don't be afraid to be a legend. We're going to start off this late night, Monday night, October 21st show, and we're going to go through the games. We're going to go through the week 9 games quickly, talking about the importance of them, the sneaky important games. The ACC race is fascinating. You got 3 undefeated teams in the conference. 4. I'm sorry. You got 4, but 3 of them don't play each other. 3 of them don't play each other. SMU, Miami, holy smokes, and Clemson. And then, of course, you got Pittsburgh. We're going to be talking about the Big 12 race. Iowa State, BYU at the top. Kansas State is sitting there hounding, stalking. Cincinnati sitting there hounding and stalking. We got the SEC. Holy smokes, the SEC. We're going to be talking about the games this week. And then Notre Dame. And I'm going to tell you where it's coming from. I can tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from BTM and his associates. The ones who enabled me to break the big news that Notre Dame's men's hockey was going to join the Big Ten. The ones who enabled me to break the USC to the Big Ten. The ones who enabled me to predict, to be able to put out there on Minnesota 247 on Christmas Day 2016 that Tracy Claeys was going to get fired 216 hours from at that time. He got fired 220 hours. And PJ Fleck was going to be target number 1. It all happened. BTM and Associates, the ones who were written in the LA Times article about us breaking these stories, BTM and his associates. And, well, BTM and his associates, the money perch across this country, they've given me the go-ahead to be able to provide a peek. Nothing is imminent. Of course it's not. However, we're going to give you the peek. Remember, we gave you the peek around the corner on September 9th. Well, we've done it many times here. The hot bubble of action. You guys know the history. Excuse me. On September 9th, we told you all that the Big Ten was going to push for this 3 or 4 team qualifier, right? Automatic qualifiers. And you were going to hear about it in the next 30 to 60 days. That all happened. Nobody was talking about that until we brought it up on September 9th. Okay. October 21st, today, we're going to bring it up. Notre Dame, future as a football independent, is going to be threatened like it's never been threatened before if the SEC and the Big Ten can come to a scheduling agreement. There are many facets that we have been told now on this possible scheduling agreement. It's not going to happen this month. It's not going to happen next month. but it is expected to happen. And it's going to be aggressive. Like, pretty much, maybe not every, well, yeah, pretty much everybody, and I mean everybody, is going to be involved. That definitely includes the new 4 teams, universities that join the Big Ten: UCLA, Oregon, Washington, and what is that 4th one? What is that 4th school? I can't remember that 4th. Oh, USC. And I have said this over and over and over and over and over again. The USC when we were able to break this story in March 31st, 2022, the leak did not come from the Big Ten office in Rosemont, Illinois. We've explained this. The leak came from that way, or that way, however you're looking at this, or if you turn yourself upside down. The leak came from Los Angeles. The leak came from Los Angeles to the money purchase scattered across the Big Ten. One in particular, Ohio State. Don't have to go into the details of that. This leak, and why I am able to get in front of the camera October 21st and say Notre Dame's football independent is threatened. This leak is coming from Los Angeles, once again. And I'm not going to go any further than that on where this is coming from. But again, it's coming from Los Angeles. Now, I am giving you guys this first. Maybe before I lay my head down on my sweet cold pillow, I'm probably going to be making a phone call or 2. Because there's going to be some people interested in this. Because they know who BTM is. And I'm talking about people in the industry. So my night has only just begun. But you, the PATC community, you deserve to get this first because you have been with us from the beginning. You've been through every time we break a story, every time we give you the leak. This is serious. This is the one. This issue might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. We are going to get into it. We're going to get into it by the end of our monologue. First, we're going to be talking about the games this week, week 9. But we're going to get into it. I'm just going to offer up a little bit more here. What we've been told. None of this is, obviously we don't have a crystal ball. But what I'm telling you, none of it is speculation either. This is Notre Dame has recently, with their new NBC contract, has cozied up to the Big Ten. This is what we've been told. Cozied up to the SEC. They want to make sure that one of their aggressive actions is to make sure to fill up as many games with the Big Ten and the SEC schools as possible. Even though they got that 5-game working arrangement with the ACC schools, they've been more aggressive trying to line up the Big Ten and the SEC. Because they know that they need to stack up, rack it up with that schedule, with that home schedule, with the NBC contract, to maintain, to be able to keep close to the value, to the media value that the SEC and the Big Ten are getting. I mean, again, nothing, yes, cozied up to the Big Ten. Nothing is imminent. That's not what this show is. But this show, October 21st, is a show that we're going to come back to. Late spring, early summer of next year, we're going to be coming back to October 21st. Once this scheduling agreement gets made, we're going to be coming back to October 21st. Just like we've been coming back to September 9th on our live show. Because we gave everybody the accurate peek there. Nothing is imminent. But Notre Dame's 2025 schedule. Texas A&M, Purdue, Arkansas, USC, 4 P2 teams. 2026, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Purdue, USC, 4 Power 2 teams. Out of the 7 games in the 2027 schedule, Purdue, Michigan State, 2 out of 7, Big Ten Power 2. Out of the 8-game schedule for the 28th season, Arkansas, Purdue. They're trying to get more. They're trying to get more. They're trying to tie up the USC series. And they haven't been able to do it yet. And I just told you about 5 minutes ago, this story is leaking like a sieve out of Los Angeles. Notre Dame threw the Hail Mary. They're going to continue to throw the Hail Mary, maybe. They threw the Hail Mary on the Super League talk and all that stuff. Jack Swarbrick. That ain't happening. They know that this is going to go one or two ways for Notre Dame. And it ain't, and the odds of it going the Super League way is extremely, extremely small chance of that happening. I don't think it has any chance of happening. Not for a long time, if ever. So it's got to go the other way. In other words, Notre Dame's future as a football independent is going to be threatened like never before if that P2 scheduling agreement takes hold. We're going to go back into this. Our big story of the evening at the back end of the monologue. But first, we got to talk about Week 9 football games. Wow, so much drama in college football. No. Quinn Ewers is not leaving Texas to go to the NFL draft, to get ready for the NFL draft. I think somebody's reporting now that was somebody got in a 247 account and posted that. That's not happening. There's a lot of dramatic stories going on. Curtis Rourke, the quarterback of Indiana, thumb injury. Tavon Jackson, who's QB2, is going to be starting next week for Indiana. We've got offensive coordinators being fired all over the place. That is continuing today. Let's do a roll call. Let's talk about week 9 games, and then we're going to go back into the Notre Dame situation. A heads up, a peek around the corner. Notre Dame does not want that Power 2 scheduling agreement to happen. They don't want that to happen. And yet, the SEC and the Big Ten are aggressively moving forward. Think about it. Charlie, thank you, Carson. You got your drum roll. You've got your drum roll. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you so very much. Charlie Atwood is in the house. Kay Struthers, BYU, undefeated BYU Cougars mega fan. Ryan Thomas is in the house. The Walking Geek. Jeff Jorgensen, Florida Man, Sheep and Wolves Clothing, Nick Kelso, Caleb Ramirez, Old Dad Coy's in the house. Lee, go Gators. Texas A&M leading the SEC in week 8, as we all definitely expected preseason. Nope, I did not expect that. I did have them pick 7th, much higher than a lot of other people, but no, I did not expect this. Jeff Morgan is in the house. Bruce Harris Boomer is in the house. AMAC is here. Let's see. Who else is here? Man, I am behind. My bad. The Evil Badger, Jeff Olson, Tracy FSU. Good evening, sickos. This Mrs. Seminole is back in the house. And Mrs. Arkansas Razorback is back in the house. Bill G, Jim Choi, Grant Creech is here. Lonnie is here. Deadeye, yo Greg, yo Deadeye. Mitchell is in the house. Markitex is here. Dallas Marquez, Nick Boardman, BJ, 5H, Gary is, everybody's here. Mike W, Stephen McNeely, evening everyone. BB, who's BTM? Short for Big Ten Man. Go to my X account at Flug Empire. You see it at the bottom of the screen. Go to that account. Go to my pinned posting. If you read the Los Angeles Times, BTM is talked about in there a little bit. I can't give you the name, although there are a couple people in the reporting industry who know who it is, and they're going to be giving me a call tonight. My prof is here. Expedition Greg is here. Now, the Cornhuskers against the Buckeyes this Saturday. It sounds like, and I don't see any Cornhuskers in the chat room yet. It sounds like Dylan Raiola's ankle is more than just a little dinged up. There's reports that this has been bothering him for weeks, since the Illinois game. So, I don't know. Look, it is imperative. It's imperative for Nebraska to win a 6th game this year. To go bowling for the first time in 8 years. I would sit Dylan Raiola out of the Buckeye game. Get him ready for the UCLA game the following week. Sit Raiola out if you have to, Matt Rule. Forget about the Buckeyes. They're going to blow the doors off you anyways, no matter what you do. Rest Raiola. He's a young guy. He threw a bunch of interceptions last week. He can't pivot. He's not throwing the ball like he can because his ankle's all screwed up. Sit the young man. Sit the young man. Tumasta is in the house. Jackson Johnson is here. Daniel Gygax is in the house. Holy smokes. Sean Skolducky, the Evil Badger, Ryan Willie is here. Randy Taylor. Do I got everybody? MBM is in the house. Roger Dodger is here. Now I've lost my way. Stephen Vitt, Gorb, Marcus Williams. Okay. So let's talk about Nebraska has a good opportunity to beat UCLA, but they may have to give Dylan Raiola a rest. That's all I'm saying. May have to do it. I thought the commissioners turned down that scheduling agreement. No, they definitely have not turned that down. In fact, they've turned it up. Nope. That information is not correct. Okay, let's go to the schedule. We did this last week. Once you go through the schedule, once we all go through the schedule, everyone's going to see how many really good games there are again. How many really important games there is again. One housekeeping thing here. I got to ask this question. Yeah, and the Walking Geek, Ohio State already has Texas, Bama, and Georgia. Yes, they do. And they would not be added another SEC opponent in those years that they have an SEC opponent already scheduled. This scheduling agreement, if it happens, it's going to be real aggressive. It ain't going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 Big Ten SEC matchups. It's going to be double that every single year. And what is the incentive? The incentive is to make up for the money that they're putting out in regards to paying these student athletes direct payments from the athletic department. Even these rich athletic departments, they're looking at this going, my goodness, this is going to really hurt us when it comes to our Olympic sports or whatever it is. Whatever big plans they had for their athletic department, now the cost of doing business, the cost of competing, you've got a salary floor, not a salary cap, but you got a salary floor. You got to come in with $22, $23 million just to get the seat at the poker table to play. And everybody, not just Big 12, not just ACC, the SEC and the Big 10, they're all looking for extra revenue streams. And this is the revenue stream that's going to get them the immediate dollars to supplement the extra cost of playing football and all these other sports with the direct payments coming from the athletic department to the student athletes. This scheduling agreement is going to bring in a whole lot of money. And to protect their backsides on this, to protect the SEC and the Big Ten, they're pushing for automatic qualifiers. They don't want to have to worry about the losses between the Big Ten and the SEC. They don't want to have to worry about any of that. They want more impactful games, like big brands playing big brands as often as possible to recoup, to get that extra money flowing in, to recoup from their losses as they're paying the student athletes. I'm not saying I like this as a fan. I'm giving you what is going down. This is college football's peek around the corner. I gave you the peek September 9th. I'm giving you another peek tonight. This is why Notre Dame is getting squeezed. They're not going to be able to get these games. The ability for Notre Dame to schedule a schedule in the future that can hold the media value that they need to stay within earshot when it comes to resources of the Big Ten, the SEC, it all starts to collapse. And Notre Dame's ability to solve this problem is so dang easy. It's an easy problem to solve for Notre Dame. All they got to do is pick up the phone. All they got to do is pick up the phone. We've got and we'll go more into all of this at the back end of the monologue. I got a housekeeping thing here. I have changed my video setting. I'm still running into problems. So we made a change. So let me know if the quality that you're watching right now when it comes to video, let me know if it's worse than it has been before. Right now at my end, things look like they're running pretty good. BJ says it's the same. If it's the same, that would be wonderful. Jim Choi says it's okay. Jamie says I froze up once. Well, maybe it hasn't been. I'm going to freeze up once in a while and all that stuff, but I've been having some real problems, as you all know. So we've changed a couple settings, and I'm just praying that this live show does not go pear-shaped, just like my picks against the spread. So, head looks the same size. I got a monster head. I can't wear a cap. So it did not shrink my head. That's good. Okay, so let's go into the football games here. Yeah, I know everybody's having issues. Thank you, Jamie. Mary says something is going on with YouTube because she's had issues. A lot of people are having issues. I've got issues. But I've got even bigger issues. Like I've been getting an encoding warning. It's asked me to turn down my video settings. It's asked me to do a couple other things. I've looked into it. I'm having real problems. I mean, we are barely getting by here in the studio that sits in the middle of Loserville City, and I am the mayor. So I'm hoping that tonight goes a little bit better. I'm freezing a lot. Well, that's not good. That's not good. Anyways, we'll just continue on, and maybe our adjustments are not going to work. They probably won't work. Nothing ever works. Okay. Let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Again, after we talk about the schedule, we're going to be talking about Notre Dame, BTM and his associates. I'm going to give you the peek around the corner, October 21st. Nothing is imminent. It can't be. It's not. But I think at some point in the spring of 2025, somebody's going to be writing a story about this, about the effects on Notre Dame. I know it's going to happen. So we're going to talk about it tonight, give you the peek around the corner, because that's what we do at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, Sam Houston, Florida International, UTEP, Louisiana Tech. Liberty should have no problem with Kennesaw State. Liberty has to run the table. They get a chance to get into the playoffs. Middle Tennessee, Jacksonville State, Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, Syracuse at Pittsburgh. The two ACC teams, the two programs, the two universities that came into the ACC at the same time. I don't know. I don't know the exact year. 2010? Was it 2010? 2011? 2012? I think it was 2010. Let me know in the chat. I don't even remember anymore. But whatever year it was, Syracuse and Pittsburgh came together. And this is a big game. Syracuse at Pittsburgh, 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time, and I'm going to do all that I can. I'm going to do all that I can to go on live and have a watch party. Have a watch party on Thursday night. Now, our Friday night watch parties have been crazy. Have been absolutely crazy. Every Friday night, we have the best time here at Peek Around the Corner. The games have been thrilling. It's just been, the PATC community has been crazy. If you look at the ACC standings, Pittsburgh is 2-0. Syracuse Orange is hanging around. They're 2-1. Right? And if you look at the Pittsburgh Panthers schedule, going forward at SMU, at home against Clemson, at Louisville. So the Pittsburgh's got the whole world in their hands. They control their destiny. If they beat SMU, if they beat Syracuse, SMU, Clemson, if they win all the games, Pittsburgh's going to the ACC championship. Because they're going to have the tiebreakers against Clemson and SMU. Now, are they going to be favored at SMU? No. Is Pittsburgh going to be favored at home against Clemson? No. Can they even get by Syracuse this Thursday night? I don't know. We're going to find out together. But these Pittsburgh, it's all sitting there for them. It is all sitting right there for them. And then you take a look at Syracuse. The Orange at Pittsburgh. They pull the upset. Virginia Tech, Boston College, California, a non-conference game against UConn. All those games are winnable. The Virginia Tech's playing a little bit better. All those games are winnable. All of them. They're going to be favored in all of them. And then at home against Miami. So Syracuse, with only one conference loss, controls they don't quite control their own destiny because SMU and Clemson could go undefeated, remain undefeated, but they could come in third and they give themselves a chance to get to the ACC championship game. So I just wanted to show you how important that Thursday night game is. And I think we're going to be doing a watch party. We're going to do all that we can to do the watch party. Thursday night, Syracuse at Pittsburgh. And then Friday night. Look at that. Look at that game. Boise State at UNLV. 9:30 Central Time. Central Time. Holy smokes. And I'm going to do all that I can to do a double watch party. Boise State at UNLV, Rutgers at USC. If I'm doing Boise State UNLV, we might as well watch the late game, Rutgers at USC. a game that has no meaning when it comes to the playoffs or the Big Ten race, but it might have a lot of meaning for Lincoln Riley. They got to get off the mat. They've got to beat Rutgers. They got to beat the Greek Rifle. If they don't, holy smokes, but I think they will. But the Boise State UNLV game, man, oh man, I mean, Army, Navy, Liberty, Tulane, these G5 schools are all going to be rooting on UNLV to win. It's at home. UNLV still believes they have a shot. So that is your Friday night games. Now we get into Saturday. And I'm going to tell you guys, this Notre Dame Navy game, Notre Dame Navy, that will be the watch party, PATC watch party for Saturday. At least early games on Saturday. We may try to do a night game. Notre Dame at Navy. Notre Dame is starting to roll. They've got one loss. They put that Northern Illinois game behind them. Riley Leonard's looking more comfortable, but they're going to go into a buzzsaw. Navy undefeated, rolling over everybody. Yes, we're going to do a PATC watch party, Notre Dame at Navy. And then, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on Nebraska against the Buckeyes. Nebraska just got crushed. Can they come back this week and play a better game against the Buckeyes? And the Buckeyes are going to be seething. They just lost to Oregon. They had a bye week. The Buckeyes are going to come out for blood this Saturday, October 26th. Washington at Indiana. We're going to be keeping an eye on that game. Who won? Indiana undefeated. One of the largest stories of this season. And their quarterback is out. QB2, the starting quarterback of last year. Mr. Jackson is in. They're confident with him. They run the same offense with him. And the Washington Huskies would like nothing better than the first year of the Big Ten to come into Indiana and beat the Hoosiers. We're going to be keeping an eye on that game. Oklahoma, Ole Miss. Ole Miss's chances of going to the playoffs have shrunk big time. They're going to have to beat up Oklahoma pretty bad. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia. We're skipping through some of these games. Arkansas, Mississippi State, Illinois, at Oregon. Number 20, Illinois, Mr. Brett Bielema, Dan Lanning. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Some personalities in this game. Can the Fighting Illini keep up with the Ducks? Can they pull off the upset? Because if Illinois does, if Illinois can, if they actually pull off the miracle, then Illinois, if you look at their schedule, you might be talking about the Fighting Illini going into the playoffs. Ducks are going to be the big favorites. BYU at UCF. UCF lost a heartbreaker against Iowa State. Now they're back home against undefeated BYU. Will the magic slipper slip on the foot again? Will it fit again? Probably. Probably, because BYU has got everything going for them. They believe, the fan base believes, Jake Retzlaff believes, Mr. L.J. Martin believes, Mr. Chase Roberts believes, BYU. That is a big game for the Cougar fans. Missouri at Alabama. Slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. Roll Tide Roll has got 2 losses and 1 more loss. And they're going to get eliminated. They're not going to make it as a 3-loss team. Not this year. Maybe 2025, maybe 2026. But I don't think there's going to be a 3-loss team that's going to make the playoffs this year. Let me know how wrong I am in the chat room with the phone calls later tonight. Missouri escapes with a win against Auburn. They're going to have to play a lot better in Tuscaloosa if they want to come out of there still alive to get to the playoffs. Northwestern Iowa, Maryland against my beloved Gophers. Oklahoma State at Baylor. Baylor got off the mat last week. Texas Tech at TCU. TCU won last week. And now they get Texas Tech at third place. And this is a rivalry. And it's going to be Texas Tech, no longer undefeated in the Big 12. Going to try to get back. Going to try to jump back in the race. Well, they're going to have to beat TCU. Texas at Vanderbilt. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, sure, Texas should be able to win this game pretty convincingly, right? They should be able to roll in there, whoop up on the Commodores. But are they going to? Is Quinn Ewers a little nicked up? Is he hurt? Maybe he's not injured. But is he hurt? And Vanderbilt, number 25 in the country, they believe in themselves. If they get up on Texas, if they score first, wow, there could be a lot of drama there. Could be a lot of drama in Nashville, Tennessee. New Mexico, Colorado State, West Virginia and Arizona, both programs struggling right now. Florida State can make all of their pains go away. All of their deep cuts can be all stitched up on the night of October 26th. If they go into Miami and if they pull off the upset against Miami, all the pain will go away. The problem is, to beat Miami, you're going to have to outscore Miami. You're going to have to score in the high 30s, in the low 40s, because the Miami Hurricanes are going to score in the high 30s or in the low 40s. Miami's struggling to stop people, but nobody is stopping that offense that the Hurricanes have. And I don't think Florida State can. Look, if Florida State's going to stay in that game early, they're going to need a pick six. They're going to need a scoop of the score. They're going to need to score points in non-traditional ways to stay in that game early. Utah, Houston. Utah has hired a former Northwestern offensive coordinator, making changes there. Penn State at Wisconsin. You better, Nittany Lions, you better wake up for this one. Wisconsin right now is no joke. I know what Penn State's doing. I know what they're doing. Penn State went into USC and defeated USC. While USC went into Madison, Wisconsin, and USC defeated Wisconsin. So, Penn State's thinking, we got this. Wisconsin can't hang with us. Where Wisconsin has now found themselves. And the Nittany Lions are going to have to play a very good, high-quality game to get out of Madison with a victory. To get out of Madison still undefeated. To get out of Madison as still one of the top 3 ranked teams in the country. Look at this monster game. LSU at Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? That is a monster of a game. Texas A&M is sitting at the top of the standings, like what was mentioned earlier Hold on. Sorry about that. I didn't get that set up. Texas A&M 4-0. LSU 3-0. And they play this Saturday night. College Station. The atmosphere is going to be incredible. The drama is going to be incredible. The pressure that Brian Kelly is feeling is going to be even more. Wow. What a spectacular game. Again, this week, this week 9, man, there's going to be some crazy stuff going on. Michigan State at Michigan doesn't impact the playoffs or the Big Ten race, but Michigan State coming off a big win at home against Iowa. Michigan is struggling. The Spartans are going to try to upend the Wolverines, and if that happens, then Jonathan Smith can call this season an absolute success. In fact, they might be able to do that anyways, even if they lose this game. But if the Spartans beat the Wolverines, look out. Look out. Auburn at Kentucky. Both programs struggling. Kansas struggling. Kansas State is just starting to lather up. Kansas State just starting to lather up. I think the Wildcats are going to be there at the end. I think they're going to get in the Big 12 championship game, and Iowa State and BYU, one of those teams. Well, we'll see. I don't want to say anything more. Kansas State is just starting to catch their stride. Look at this game. SMU at Duke. SMU at Duke. Again, at the beginning of the season, how many people would have said, wow, that SMU, that new ACC team, wow, that game probably isn't going to mean anything. I mean, my goodness, why would anybody watch that? Well, SMU is undefeated. Duke is 2-1. The offense is struggling. The defense has been there since day one. Manny Diaz, a defensive-minded coach, a former defensive coordinator. Duke is swarming the football on defense, giving Malik Murphy all the opportunities to develop. Duke SMU. Wow. That is a big game in the ACC race. You've got Syracuse against Pittsburgh, SMU against Duke this weekend. To me, that is absolutely spectacular. Now we're going to get into, I think there is one more here. Yeah. Here it is. Cincinnati, Colorado. A late night game, 9:15 Central Time, 10:15 Eastern Time. Cincinnati, Colorado. Again, both of them are still in the Big 12 race. Now, one of them is going to get eliminated. I think. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. I don't think a two-loss Colorado or two-loss Cincinnati can quite get to the Big 12 championship game. Maybe I'll be wrong, but Cincinnati's 3-1. Colorado's 3-1. Both programs have all the reasons in the world to be encouraged, to be excited about what has happened through this season. Both of them keep getting better and better and better. That is a big game late at night. All of you college football sickos are going to be watching it. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on Satterfield and Sanders. Satterfield and Sanders. Sorsby and Sanders. Okay. So that's the games. I wanted to get through that because, again, we have a very good week of football. Got to give Duke D some credit. Absolutely. Bo Weevil, go Clemson. They're right into it. Greg, the matchup of the week is clearly Stanford at Wake Forest. If a tree falls in the forest, yes, you can hear it. Yes, you can hear it. KU dominated last week. Yeah, I'm talking about as the season. Go Kansas. SMU will destroy Duke. They might. That SMU Duke is a big game. The reverse cooler nitwit. Wait, Auburn, Kentucky is not a big game. Greg picking Wisconsin? Greg picking Wisconsin. Greg picking the evil Badgers? Okay, now let's get into is the audio gone bad now or what? Okay. Notre Dame. The peak here on Monday night, October 21st, is that Notre Dame, with the scheduling agreement between the Power 2 conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, if that happens, Notre Dame's future as football independence is going to be threatened. And I'm telling you, just like I said on September 9th, you're going to be hearing stories about more qualifiers, qualifying game, and a possible conference tournament. You're going to be reading stories in the spring of 2025 that Notre Dame's football independence is threatened. Their football independence is going to be devalued. Here's a couple of things we've been told. One, the scheduling is going to be mighty aggressive between the SEC and the Big Ten. In basketball, they might even do baseball. Some of that was publicly reported. In football, it's going to be 13, 14, 15, 16 games. 13, 14, 15, or 16 games lined up between the SEC and the Big Ten. Okay. This, first of all, the agreement there is no agreement yet. But we have been told the following. And I was finally able to talk about it tonight. When the agreement comes into place, the scheduling agreement, it's going to take effect like that. They're not going to have a 2-year grace period. There's going to be scrambling among the schools when it comes to this schedule. The first year of the scheduling agreement may not be the 12, 13, 14, 15 games. Maybe it's 6 or 8. But they're going to have this going like that. Like that. Those are two things that I wanted to start with. The third thing. We talked about this months ago. I had it on an early peak Cloak and Dagger episode. I don't know what number it is. If you are a member, go to our YouTube channel, scroll through the episodes, but one of the episodes a couple months ago, we reported to you that USC has the chances of USC re-signing up with Notre Dame is very small with non-conference games. Very small. They don't want to do it. And it's not just Lincoln Riley. They don't want to do it. USC would love for Notre Dame to be a conference rival game. You know, USC playing UCLA every year, playing Notre Dame every year, and then play the top schools in the Big Ten a little bit less. You know, one of them would go out of circulation a little bit to make up, you know, they're trying to balance it, right, in the Big Ten. USC would have no problem with Notre Dame being their permanent rival game, along with UCLA. Maybe even along with Stanford if they came along. But non-conference game, we talked about that a couple months ago. That was leaked out of Los Angeles. And if you've noticed, Notre Dame and USC have yet to schedule beyond 2026. If you notice a trend, we get leaks out of Los Angeles. We just do. We have the BTM and his associates on the biggest stories of USC. When USC men's hockey team joined the Big Ten, we were the ones that broke it. The football, we were the ones that broke it. Not somebody out sitting out in Los Angeles, not a big-time football reporter. I'm just telling you guys, the leak has happened again out of the city of Los Angeles. USC, somebody is talking. The squeeze is on Notre Dame. USC is going to be a participant. USC is going to be a participant of the scheduling agreement if it happens. And we think it will. If it happens, USC will be a participant. And that's going to take away a lot of Notre Dame's juice. Also, and we said this at the beginning of the show, I don't have anybody on my payroll. We don't have a payroll. I'm not even on the payroll. We barely get by with your guys' generous donations. But I will tell you, one, we've said this before, nobody leaks like the media companies do. And number two, this leak did not come from a media partner, a media company. Not this one. When I say Los Angeles, I'm not talking about Fox. I know a lot of people would think that because, anyways, as we said earlier in the monologue, this is happening at the time. This scheduling agreement is happening at a time where Notre Dame over the last 3 or 4 years has become even more aggressive in trying to obtain non-conference games with the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, it's pretty easy for Notre Dame. They're Notre Dame. A lot of teams would love to play Notre Dame. A lot of eyeballs, tickets sold, home and away. Okay. But Notre Dame has turned it up. Again, in 2025, we've been over this once, we're going to go over it again. In 2025, Notre Dame is scheduled to play Texas A&M, Purdue, Arkansas, USC. Those are 4 teams, SEC Big Ten combination. Power to 4 of them. In 2026, it's Wisconsin, Michigan State, Purdue, USC. That's 4. Again, in 2027, the 7 games that Notre Dame has scheduled, 7 of them, they've only have 7 of them scheduled. 2 of them are Big Ten. And the 8 games that they have scheduled in 2028, 1 is SEC, 1 is Big Ten. And that is all being threatened. Because the SEC and the Big Ten schools, it's not like they're going to completely shut down Notre Dame, but the incentive to schedule that game becomes less and less and less. And the ability to Notre Dame, the ability of the Fighting Irish to keep up their media value in comparison to the SEC and the Big Ten shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. It is already shrinking, but they were able to get a good deal with the NBC. We've been told it's a little bit of a sliding scale dependent on what Notre Dame can get in their future schedules. Remember, we reported that to you. That's one of the reasons why no one really knows how much Notre Dame makes per year with their NBC deal, because it's a sliding scale dependent on the schedule that they can get, that they can obtain. This is why Notre Dame is being so aggressive, trying to get Big Ten and SEC schools on their schedule. To see how this is going, Notre Dame is going this way, and the Big Ten and the SEC are no longer meeting them anymore. That's the cloak and dagger stuff that's going on. The SEC is no longer protecting Notre Dame. As long as the SEC can make more money with the Big Ten, that's what they're going to do. You can't do that with Notre Dame. You can do that with the Big Ten. I'm going to be very careful when I say this. Kerry Gold knows. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Notre Dame is not going to be part of any scheduling agreement with the Big Ten unless they join the Big Ten. I'm going to be very careful on this next part. Thank you, Kerry Gold knows, for the super chat. I appreciate your generosity once again to this channel. Thank you so very much. Ryan Thomas, BYU can't handle much more of this Greg Othermia. I'm not sure, that coolness. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. Thank you so much, Ryan Thomas, for the super chat. The scheduling agreement is also a blow to the ACC. Yes. I do not want to go down that ACC rabbit hole tonight. But yes, in theory. On September 9th, when we did a live show, and we talked about the Big Ten you're going to be hearing stories that the Big Ten is going to try to once again force to get this 3 or 4 automatic qualifier spot, and there's going to be reports eventually on a potential conference tournament maybe not in the Big Ten, but some other conference, and one in particular. Conferences are looking into it and all that. And I said it was going to get reported on in the next 30 to 60 days. And okay. And it all did. All of it did. Here on October 21st, you are going to, in my very strong opinion, I don't have control over it, but I believe what we're talking about tonight on October 21st, you are going to be hearing about it early next year. No later than a January or February of next year. You're going to be reading the story. It's going to come out, and it's going to talk about Big Ten, SEC scheduling agreement, and what does that mean for the rest of the schools, but in particular, what does that mean for Notre Dame? That is going to come out. No later than January or February of next year. We are college football's peak around the corner. So we have a little bit more room. But even in this, I had to make sure I did not step at anybody's toes. I had to make sure that BTM, blah, 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 blah. I had to make sure everything was okay when I talked about it tonight. National reporters who I don't have any attachment to, which I don't. No strings attached to this channel. But I've been fortunate enough to know they work in a world of it's got to be buttoned down, it's got to be tied down. They've got to be told that A, B, and C has been done, or it's about to get done, and you can go ahead and speculate that it can. But they work in a whole different. The story has to be right for them to go with it. Here at College Football's Peak Around the Corner, where we are as accurate as anybody, but we are giving you a peek about what we have been told is going to be the future reporting of a particular story. And I would not have come on here on October 21st to give you a peek about something that's going to happen 2 or 3 months from now. I know it sounds weird, but every time we do this, it happens. So I'm giving everybody a warning. If this Power 2 scheduling agreement happens, okay, it's a story. Congratulations, Big Ten and SEC, for making more money, for ruining the sport and all this other stuff, right? But I do not believe the story, if it happens, I don't think it gets contained among the Big Ten and the SEC. I think there's going to be some ripple effects. And one of those ripple effects could very well be realignment. It could pull the trigger on further realignment. At the very least, it's going to pull the trigger on some other scheduling agreements that are going to be happening, maybe between the ACC and the Big 12. But I don't think this is going to be contained, because between just the SEC and the Big Ten, because of the thread that is called Notre Dame. If that thread gets pulled, remember, Notre Dame does not have a grant of rights with the ACC when it comes to Tier 1 rights with ESPN. with the family of ESPN and ABC. Their only obligations is towards the ACC network. So this, we have been told, is incredibly serious. And it is probably what has led to Notre Dame's Hail Mary attempt in regards to Jack Swarbrick joining the Super League, joining this talks about creating the Super League where conferences remain and Notre Dame remains as an independent and everybody locks arms and everybody does the same media agreements and all this stuff and scheduling and all this, with, they're going to be tiered, whatever. That probably what led Notre Dame to doing what they're doing. And that has caused another response back to the Big Ten and to the SEC. Cloak and dagger between those two groups. So we're going to be hearing more about this in the next couple of months. That scheduling agreement, if it happens, it's going to be a nuclear bomb that goes off. And that nuclear bomb is not going to be contained with the Big Ten and the SEC. Our very strongly held opinion here at Peek Around the Corner. I will take your phone calls. Talk about any game you want to talk about. We're going to be doing our picks against the spread tomorrow on our live show tomorrow. No, we're not. I don't think we are. I don't know what we're going to do. Either Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to make our picks against the spread. We'll figure that out. But anyways, keep your head on the swivel. We usually do it on Wednesday. We'll see what happens. Anyways, let's open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Let me know what big story have I missed going into week 9?
From
Tristan Fives.
Tristan is on the line. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Hey, thanks, Greg, for taking my call. Listen, you were going through some of these games. We got a great lineup of games in the upcoming weekend, right? And I wanted to add a little bit of information to that. So I was looking at the standings, and I think what most people agree, I mean, we have to wait and see final records, but most people tend to think that the Mendoza line is 2 losses. You can make the playoff with 2 losses, but you probably can't make it with 3.
I
right?
think
there may be some exceptions.
I think it's true for this year, but not necessarily next year.
Right, it can change down the road, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, so with the 2-loss limit as, sort of like the guiding indicator here, as of today, there are 29 universities with 2 losses or less, meaning there's 29 universities. Now, I'm not talking about any of the smaller conferences. I'm talking about what we would traditionally call the P4,
sure,
plus Notre Dame. So 29, Greg, there's 6 in the Big Ten, 9 in the SEC, 6 in the ACC, and 7 in the Big 12. And, boy, I'll tell you what, that's what makes for some exciting football Saturdays right there.
Yeah.
Playoff implications for all of these games, these matchups. I mean, who in their right mind would have said, at the very beginning of the season that SMU Duke had playoff implications?
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And here we are, and that's now
Syracuse,
a big game.
Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that for everyone, because I've heard a lot of people, of course, there's people that are traditionalists and so forth, and I understand the loss of tradition is sad and it does hurt, but this is why the ratings are up. is because of what we're talking about right here. Having more teams with a better opportunity to have a postseason, meaningful postseason games, that's the thing that's going to drive ratings. And so we're seeing it starting this year, right?
Yeah.
This you were right, Greg. You've been right all along. This 12-team playoff is a big deal, and it's going to make for an exciting season. Now, as far as this Notre Dame situation goes, Greg, I want to add a comment here. I really do think that what's going to happen with this scheduling agreement that the SEC and the Big Ten are working on, I think what they're probably going to do is, we're talking about this for postseason games in addition to regular season games, right? Is that what we're saying is going to happen? If you're not allowed to say it, just say I can't say it.
No, it's like I said earlier, it won't completely, at least what has been told to us, if this agreement takes place, it's not going to completely shut out Notre Dame in regards to regular season scheduling or postseason scheduling, like a bowl game. But it's just going to make it so much more difficult and less, it shrinks Notre Dame's opportunity by a lot. And so I don't want to say it completely shuts off Notre Dame, but it's going to make Notre Dame's ability to create a schedule that is going to maintain a good enough media value for their media partner. So
right, okay. Well, I think that what they're going to do, one of the components of this agreement is I think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to have some postseason games for their teams that don't make the playoff. And Greg, I think that a very real possibility is they're gonna get together and say, let's pair up teams, and then they're going to auction them off for bowl games or something. So, just for example, if by some strange situation, 1 year Ohio State didn't make the playoff, and then like this year, right, Alabama looks like they may not make the playoff. That could be a pretty lucrative bowl game, right? So the two conferences could get together and say, hey, let's pair these two up, auction it off, see who's willing to pay the most for it, and that'll be a bowl game. And then the Big Ten and the SEC split those revenues. And, that's even more pushing this whole revenue thing down the road even more, where they're separating themselves from the other conferences. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what they're going to do, Greg. I think they're going to get schools that don't make the playoff, they're going to get at a table and say, all right, let's come up with the best matchups, and they're going to auction them off for postseason games, probably bowl games or something.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen. Okay. And, Notre Dame, man, they're running out of choices here. That's really starting to get thin. And this was one of the situations that I think, from a call I made to you about 3 or 4 months ago, what were the 3 conditions that Swarbrick was talking about would cause them to have to join a conference? And I think one of them was, lack of P4 scheduling options. So this might very well force them to make a move.
Yeah.
And I think, Greg, in my mind, I could be wrong about this, but in my mind, it's a foregone conclusion that if they go anywhere, it's got to be the Big Ten. That's the only one that makes sense at all. There's just no way they could fit into the SEC. They have to go to the Big Ten if they join a conference. So,
all righty, man. I appreciate the call, sir.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Greg.
Yeah, great
Thanks.
call again, man. Appreciate Tristan.
All right. Bye-bye.
You got it. Beautiful. He always brings up a lot of good comments. Lots of good comments. Chris Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Notre Dame having the ability to grab. Hold 1 second.
Call from
Anthony Manzano.
Anthony, can you hold on for 1 moment, please?
Okay.
I appreciate it. Chris Hughes, super chat. Notre Dame having the ability to grab an at-large bid is what will make this happen. Notre Dame, as it stands, knocks out a slot for the SEC, the Big Ten, for the college football playoffs. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for your super chat. Thank you so much. I'm glad you are in the chat room. Haven't seen you for a while. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Anthony, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm gonna answer the Notre Dame question. To me, this forces Notre Dame. I agree with your previous caller. For me, this forces Notre Dame to join a conference. They're going to have no choice if they're going to have limited chances to schedule top quality opponents from the Big Ten or SEC, because how tough the SEC and Big Ten going to be the next few years. So I think this makes Notre Dame join a conference, join one of these big conferences so they can get into the playoffs. In my honest opinion, Greg.
Got it. Yeah. I think a lot of people agree with you.
Yeah, and also for me, what scares me about the I'm coming this from a perspective of a Hurricanes fan. If we go undefeated and win our conference, win the conference, I fear that a one-loss Big Ten or Big 12 team, Big Ten or SEC team like a Texas would get in the top four before a Miami who wins the conference. Because I can't believe I'm saying this. I feel the committee is going to want the top four teams to be all Big Ten or Big 10 or SEC teams. Do you agree, or that's not?
Well, you can't have
Miami.
You cannot have the top four all being SEC and Big Ten teams. The top four teams are going to be the top four ranked conference champions. So Miami, if they go undefeated, they're definitely going to be in the top four. I would argue that they're probably going to be in the top two, or definitely top three, maybe even the top one.
The reason why I say that is because I fear that the committee is going to hold against Miami that our conference is what they consider weak. We don't really have, besides Clemson, no one's gonna beat us the rest of the way and stuff like that.
Well,
so,
I think the ACC's been. I think they've been pretty good. I think the Big 12's been pretty good. I think the Big 10's been pretty good. I think the SEC has been pretty good. You're talking about an undefeated Miami is going to be either number 2 or number 3. They're going to need Oregon to lose to be number 1. But Miami, an undefeated ACC champion Miami, is going to be 1, 2, or 3. They're not going to be out of the top. They're going to be right there. The question is, what happens to a one-loss ACC champion Miami? That might get a little bit, but an undefeated Miami is not going to have any problems with the rankings.
Oh no, that's the scenario I wanted to ask. Let's say I can't remember who I was watching that they were talking about this, that there's a possibility that SMU, Miami, and Clemson will probably end the season with one loss. Then who goes to ACC champion and stuff like that? Would a one loss, like an undefeated, who would get into the, just in case, let's say Georgia wins the SEC, Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Oregon wins the Big Ten, but Ohio State loses, and Miami wins the conference. Does Miami get into the top 3 or top 4 with a conference championship, even though we have one loss?
My quick answer to that is I have no idea, and my long answer to that is I have no idea, because there's just so many variables. There is a chance that an undefeated Miami and Clemson and SMU, they all go through the season undefeated, or they all go through the season with one loss. And if they all go through the season with one loss, you can go through the tiebreakers. We've been through them a couple times on this show. We'll go through them again if it looks like it's going to happen. I don't know who's going to get in among those three teams.
Yeah. And can you explain to me how a one-loss Ohio State team is above an undefeated Miami in the rankings right now for the AP? Can you explain that? Logically explain that to me.
Well, because Oregon is so highly thought of, and Oregon's undefeated, and that's Ohio State's only loss. But I do get it. I mean, if you look at, let's take a look at the Buckeyes schedule so far. Their biggest win of the season is against Iowa, 35-7. That's their biggest win. So they don't have a real big win. They defeated Michigan State.
Miami's biggest one would be Louisville.
Huh?
I think Miami's biggest, most important win was Louisville. And would those be about even? In your honest opinion?
I guess they're completely two different teams, but Miami has
in terms of the quality of the opponent.
Yeah, Louisville's probably their yeah.
I
don't know. You make a decent argument. Maybe Miami should be ahead of the Buckeyes.
Or at least right number 4 underneath the Buckeyes, underneath Georgia and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean Buckeyes go into a big part of the schedule here. So if they win out, they're going to be up in the top 4 in the ranking. They're in the top 4 now, but
you think they overtake Georgia? If they win out the rest of the way, and Georgia maybe, I don't think they lose any other games, but hypothetically, if they do, does Ohio State jump them?
I'm taking a look at Georgia's schedule. I don't know. It'll be close. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for answering my call, Greg.
All right.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Anthony. Great call. Carson, thank you for the super chat. Handwriting is on the wall. Notre Dame doesn't want to look like the school that destroyed the ACC, but I firmly believe Notre Dame is making preps to join the Big Ten. Thank you, Carson, for coming on in. Hold 1 second.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, can you hold on for just 1 moment, please?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Carson, for your super chat, for coming on in, for helping us keep the lights on with your incredible generosity. I think that handwriting, I think people are going to be reading that handwriting in January or February of next year. At least there's going to be a story about this, how it's going to hurt Notre Dame's scheduling in the future. Thank you, Carson. I appreciate it. Tonight, we're just giving the peek. Nothing is imminent. Nothing. Chris Hughes, a question for BTM. Is it possible that both the Big Ten and the SEC go to a 10-game conference schedule? Both conferences expand to 20 teams each. I don't think a 10-game conference schedule is going to be wanted or needed. If the Big Ten goes to 20 and the SEC goes to 20. A 9-game conference schedule works because you can maintain a 7-5 split a lot easier, 7 home games. If you go 10, if you could do a 10-game conference schedule, then you're going to be going 5-5, and then you're not going to be able to have 2 non-conference games both at home every year. A 9-game conference schedule works. Now, could there be a time when they go to 10? Yes. But I don't think going to 20 teams is going to trigger it. Maybe if they go bigger than that, maybe to 24. But I will add, again, I'm not BTM, so I will, hopefully I will remember that and ask him. But look, PJ Fleck himself, the head coach of the Golden Gophers, his contract, his bonuses are listed at under a 9-game conference schedule and a 10-game conference schedule. So his agent thought to get that in there, and we've heard that there's other coaches that have the same thing. So again, is there a chance it goes to 10 games? Yes. But I don't think going to 20 would be I think they can do 9 conference games with 20 teams. I'm not sure. I don't know about the motivation to go to 10. Going to 10 conference games is more about getting more money, more revenue. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for the super chat. I appreciate it so much for your generosity. BJ, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
What's up, Greg? As always, thanks for allowing me to speak on your platform. A few things. The Notre Dame thing is there's so many avenues you can go with the scheduling agreement in Notre Dame. And you can look at it from a fan perspective, or you can look at it from just a business owner network perspective, right? And when the money just jumped for the Power 2 conferences last year with their media deals, I mean, common sense will tell you, could have guided us to this kind of scenario. If we're going to give you this money, we want to have a semblance of control over what's going to be on our station. We can generate revenue by increasing the playoff, making sure that important games are on our station, right? If you look at the schedule this week, every major station has a ranked team playing another ranked team or a very important game. And I would say last year or years previous, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Right? So to me, it's quite obvious. As it pertains to Notre Dame, what keeps coming to my head is ESPN and the big media conglomerates. I would have to think they are, pushing for this. Because I don't see conferences making these moves without the support of the networks. I just don't see that happening. And I don't think Notre Dame is pushed to join a conference just because the SEC and the Big Ten does things. But I do see their ability to get into the playoffs being a bigger mover to their decision making. I don't know how you feel about that, Greg, but I would love to hear your opinion on that. I think their ability to get to the playoffs, is more important than who the SEC has in their conference or who the Big Ten has in their conference.
All right, you want me to take that offline then, or sir?
Say that again.
You want to hang up and I'll answer that question, or?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate the call, BJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Great call. Well, Notre Dame is assured of playoff access. They're going to have playoff access. It's protected. There's going to be an at-large spot. I think they've got that secured. Miami's ability to compete at the highest level of college football, college sports, they're going to have to bring in as much money as they can. Everyone's looking for more revenue. And this NBC deal sort of, it did enough for Notre Dame to continue on as a football independence. But the contract was created as a sliding scale. And with the Big Ten and the SEC, if they pull this off, if they do it, they're going to get more money. And Notre Dame is not going to be able to. The gap is going to widen once again between Notre Dame and the SEC and the Big Ten schools. Notre Dame also is looking out for their other sports. Not only their football program, I know that leads everything. We know that. But they have a lot of interest in those other sports. The athletic director gets a lot of pressure put on him. Ask Jack Swarbrick. There are places in the ACC they don't like to travel. He's talked about it in public. So not being able to get enough revenue or get behind on the revenue is going to hurt Notre Dame. I don't think the playoff access is going to force. I think the playoff access is fine. I think it's their other sports that they have to continue to look out for. That's why they moved their hockey program from Hockey East to the Big Ten. If the ACC implodes, they might have to move their sports out of the ACC to the Big Ten. But we've been told that the scheduling agreement is a big threat because there is no counterpunch for Notre Dame. There's nothing that they can react. There's nothing that they can do to close the gap. Remember, the Big Ten media contract that is in the second year of a 6-year deal. Within that contract, there's a Notre Dame clause written into it. CBS, NBC, Fox have all already agreed on the number that Notre Dame and everybody else would get if Notre Dame joined the conference. Not only would it be a boost to Notre Dame, but it would be a boost to every other Big Ten school. It's already written in the contract. It's already done. Signed, sealed, and delivered. So, and Notre Dame knows the number. So, can you imagine if the Big Ten and the SEC has a scheduling agreement and they're doing this to get more revenue? Let's be brutally honest. They're doing this to create more revenue. Every school, every conference is looking to create more revenue. This $23 million salary floor that everybody has to deal with right now, it's a stress point. It is an absolute stress point to all these athletic directors. And the SEC and the Big Ten are in talks, deep talks, about the scheduling agreement that's going to bring in more money. So, hold on one second. I just got to do some cleanup here. Imagine if this scheduling agreement goes through. Just imagine. And these Big Ten SEC schools are going to agree to it because they're going to get a whole lot more money. The media partners are definitely in these talks, right? Now that contract, the Big Ten contract, completely changes. You're still going to have the Notre Dame clause in there, right? If Notre Dame joins the conference, They're going to come in at the level everybody else is, and everybody's going to get boosted again. So the incentive for Notre Dame to finally say, yes, we acquiesce, we're coming in. We cannot keep closing this gap between ourselves and the Big Ten and the SEC. It has become too difficult. So when BJ and I believe I'm getting one of the parts of the question correct, as he said something to do with has the media companies, are they pushing for Notre Dame? The Big Ten media companies are. They've said, NBC have said, NBC will pay Notre Dame in part with CBS and Fox, all that combined. Notre Dame's going to make more money if they join the Big Ten. And NBC is part of that contract. Peacock is part of that contract. And they were all willing to say yes. That's why there's a Notre Dame clause in it. So, and I think, so hopefully that answers BJ's question. And again, I mean, look what Jack Swarbrick just did. The former longtime athletic director put his name on the dotted line for this latest version of the Super League, where all the conferences can stay together, but Notre Dame remains independent, and Notre Dame is one of the permanent 8 schools or 6 schools, whatever. One of the 8 schools that are going to make 4 times more, 3 times more than anybody else listed in Tier 2, whatever all that document said. Notre Dame, and in that new literation of the Super League, they get put on the highest pedal, the highest level with Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and they don't have to worry about nothing. They can remain independent. But Notre Dame is searching for an answer. Notre Dame is searching for an answer to their limitations of being an independent football program to get another revenue stream, to keep up, to remain at the top of the stratification line. It is why USC called the Big Ten. It's why Oklahoma and Texas called the SEC. Notre Dame doesn't have all these options. One of the biggest brands in college sports. Top 4, top 3, top 2, top 5, whatever. An incredible university, an incredible history, incredible pageantry. Notre Dame fighting Irish. But yet, they don't have the answers to the breakaway train of the SEC and the Big Ten when it comes to dollars, when it comes to resources, at a time that you need it the most, because my goodness, what's going to come down the chute next? Collective bargaining agreement? How is Notre Dame going to collective bargaining with their student athletes? How are they going to collective bargain with their student athletes the same way that those 16 SEC schools, and it could be 18 SEC schools, it could be 20 SEC schools, there could be a Florida State, there could be a Clemson. Those SEC schools are going to be able to collective bargain with their student athletes at a so much higher level than a standalone Notre Dame. Even the greatness of Notre Dame, and I'm telling you, even the greatness, how do they keep up? This scheduling agreement, we've been told, if it happens, and the incentive for the SEC and the Big Ten to make it happen is extremely high. They have all the incentives in the world to make this happen, especially when they can protect their back end by putting up multiple playoff qualifiers. This is the biggest threat to Notre Dame, to remain as a football independent. I'm giving you the peak Monday, October 21st. There are going to be highly credible people in the industry that are going to be writing on this in the next few months. Curtis, hey Greg, the Big Ten desires to increase the competition in the league. Notre Dame is actually more valuable in the Big Ten because what they bring to the table. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you for the super chat once again. Appreciate your generosity. Appreciate your friendship. I'm glad to see you back in the chat room. Thank you so very, very much. Again, this live show, Monday, October 21st, is not a show of what is imminent. It's not. It's a peek. It's a peek around the corner. Just like we've been able to successfully give you in the last 3 years, October 21st, do not forget this live show.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, the floor is yours.
Well, the winner is going to be billable hours. I understand, but I want to point out a question. I want to ask you a question, Greg.
Yeah.
To be able, for the SEC and the Big Ten, to be able to do this and to be able to have collective bargaining agreements with the athletes and do everything there and to avoid certain things, they're going to need some sort of legislative protection, right? That's what they've been pushing for. That's what they've been asking for, right? Do you really?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you really see Congress giving them this with that kind of power grab? I don't. I don't, Greg, because the stats are clear. 50% of the viewers come from the SEC and Big Ten. That's a huge chunk.
Yeah.
But the other 50% come from everybody else. And everybody has people in power. And everybody has connections. And I just don't see Congress giving them any sort of antitrust protection or any kind of other protection whatsoever with this kind of power grab. I know people want to talk about this, but there are punches and there are counter punches. And it's like the whole thing I talked about the other day, how this kind of kills the whole looking thing with the four bids and, this type of stuff. Certainly the SEC, if they want to do it, the SEC presidents will probably have to shut up and take Florida State and Clemson because there are a lot of SEC rivalry games with Florida State and Clemson that are involved.
That might be one of the things that that's one of the things that might happen. Yep.
So I think it's interesting, and if the ACC somehow survives, the ACC and the Big 12 will end up having no choice but to do a scheduling agreement with each other, and you're already seeing that happen. I've seen that right now. Like BYU just added a ton of ACC schools to their non-conference schedule.
Yeah. We've had a Big 12 SEC basketball agreement, right? A scheduling agreement.
That's all going to the garbage heap. I know,
but what I'm saying is we've had that, and they did not need a big congressional act for that to happen.
No. But Greg, you're comparing apples and oranges because here we're talking about a whole different thing. This is before anything with the House settlement. This is before anything with huge NIL collectives. This is before anything before revenue sharing with athletes. This is a whole different legal ball of wax.
They have a regularly season scheduling agreement.
Yeah,
they would need Congress to come in.
No, Greg. The scheduling agreement, you're missing the forest from the trees.
Okay.
The scheduling agreement is part of a bigger thing to usurp and basically consolidate power. Honestly, what's happening here is essentially they're trying to do all this stuff to gin up revenues to pay athletes, right? That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody faults them for that, and everybody's going to try to do that. Nobody faults them for that. But if it's so egregiously monopolistic, they're going to need certain protections when it comes to labor laws and when it comes to antitrust things with their relationship with employing student athletes, or however, any exceptions, for example, like an exception for an employee carve out for athletes not to have that status. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things they're going to be asking for. I mean, they're going to be asking for, exemptions from unrelated business taxable income. They're going to be asking for a whole bunch of things, and they're not going to get them. It's that whole thing. Pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. And the scheduling agreements before in the past have nothing to do with this, because there was more parity in the marketplace. Right now, what you see, you got both horizontal and vertical kind of, monopolistic integration here. And, I'm sure that there's going to be lots of people that are going to raise a stink about it. That's coming. I mean, and all the lawyers and the accountants and everybody else and all the consultants are all going to make a ton of money off of litigating this and off of settling this stuff and off of valuing this stuff. And sure, Mr. Thomas, like me, I'll get paid nice and handsomely. But at the end of the day, it just does a lot of damage. I mean, I know all you have your own big teams, and I know you've got it. But, there are a lot of us that are fans of small schools, and giving us the middle finger and telling us that basically our fandom means nothing. It's kind of arrogant, and I'm not going to watch any of your teams. I'll just go to the NFL. I'll just watch the NFL. I mean, it's annoying, and I hope there are counterpunches, Greg. I really do, because it's getting a little ridiculous. Because when you have these scheduling agreements, you're basically tanking the league like the ACC. You're freezing out the Big 12. And what you're doing basically is you're giving the middle finger to the other half of college football fans, and you can toss them as many bones as possible. But if they can't make the same revenues, if they're making, if the Big 10 and SEC are making 10 times more money than they are, how are they ever going to compete? They're not. It just kills the sport. And that's great. Good for you guys. You can have it. But you're alienating a lot of other fans. And, I'm just going to enjoy this last 2 or 3 years where college football will actually be fun. And after that, I'm going to, I guess maybe my Commanders here in Washington will finally be good by then. Who knows? That's another drought. That's another story for another YouTube show. But anyway, we're not quite as cursed as the Vikings, but we're up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's disheartening to me, and I understand why everyone's doing this, and I understand it. But at the same time, a lot of people in the chat here are fans of other teams that are going to be disproportionately affected and hurt by this stuff. And those of you that want to just, talk them down and be arrogant about it, that's great and fine. I'm glad for you. That's wonderful and fine. But it's just it ruins it for everybody else. But we're not watching your stupid team. College football fan relationships don't transition over. People usually are fans of schools because of a family connection or other things. And I'm sorry, but I'm not watching. I'm not watching. God, who the hell even watches UVA football? But if they're in the SEC, I'm not going to watch that crap. And ultimately, I'm not picking any of those teams. And it is what it is. But I mean, I think the network is ultimately, there'll be a price paid for it. But I think just from the common sense, for all of those you who are mocking and saying rude things to people like me and other people in the chat, just ask yourself this question: how would you feel if the shoe was on your foot? And that's all I have to say, Greg. I'm going to enjoy the last 2 years before this totally goes pear-shaped and blows up. But, I hope that there are congressional investigations. I hope Sankey gets his butt dragged up in front and humiliated. And I hope there's lots of discovery to all this collusion, all this crap that's going on gets yanked out in broad daylight, and the American people can see what a scam this has become. Anyway, thanks, Greg. Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Great call by Ryan Thomas. A lot of people agree with Ryan Thomas. He speaks for a lot of people. Speaking for a lot of people. T-Town Hawks is great call. Great call. There is, Ryan Thomas made a lot of great comments, and some of that is, like a more moral thing, and people talking down to people, and this elitist talk. Here at Peek Around the Corner, it is my job to give the peek around the corner, so that's what we're doing. We're definitely not the ones making the decisions. I completely, I think there should be a collective bargaining. You guys know how I feel. So, but I get it. Now, there are programs that have their, what if your shoe is on the other foot? Well, there are programs that have had their shoe on the other foot.
Call from
John Grove.
John Grove, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
How are you doing tonight, Mr. Flugo?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. How are you doing, sir?
The almighty Flug Empire taking the world by storm tonight. I'm doing just dandy. I'm just doing dandy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired tonight, Greg. I might be singing a little bit of nonsense here, but
that's fine.
So about this Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement, you said it could get up to as many as 13 to 16 teams. I guess I'm a little bit intrigued and a little bit concerned to know, are teams like Oregon, Washington, Iowa, are they going to still preserve our natural in-state rivalries, or are we going to kind of see them kind of throw them off to the wayside?
I think they are. I mean, okay, now obviously, right? The agreement hasn't happened yet, right? We don't know what it looks like, right? That obviously was one of my very first questions. The answer I got back was like the Cyhawk game, right?
Right.
Iowa State. Yes, it would happen, but maybe it wouldn't happen every year, right? In other words, it wouldn't be an automatic, like it's just because some years Iowa's not going to play an SEC team, right? And then those years they play Iowa State. Or maybe some years they do play an SEC team and an Iowa State. But it wouldn't be an every year thing. Where it gets really interesting is, the South Carolina, Clemson, the Florida State, Florida, the USC, Notre Dame, obviously. So, but yeah, there's a lot of other ones out. It's I don't have the answer to all of that, but again, it's I don't have the answer to all that. Obviously, those are hurdles, and those are serious hurdles to overcome. Or there's going to be times where, there's going to be times where South Carolina's going to be, if Clemson doesn't join the SEC, there's going to be times like South Carolina's going to continue to play Clemson, and then they're also going to have to play a Big Ten team. But that is another reason why. That's another reason why Notre Dame, the wall squeeze on them, because there is not a mandated USC. They love it. That's what they've been doing. Notre Dame wants to play in Los Angeles 1 every 2 years. They've got, they're a national brand. They want to play nationally, Los Angeles. But again, USC is not, there is no state mandate of state of California that they play Notre Dame. So again, this really is going to affect Notre Dame probably more than a Clemson and a Florida State who are probably going to be able to keep their games.
Well, it looked as if around 2025 USC was going to play both Ole Miss and Notre Dame, but the USC canceled the Ole Miss game mainly since the Notre Dame game is a lot more preserved for that matter, rather than seeing USC play Ole Miss. So supposedly now, you mentioned that the two teams are scheduled to 2026, correct?
What was that again?
You said that USC and Notre Dame are scheduled through 2030.
2026. Yeah, not 2027.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting. Just with the way things are playing out, I'm taking a look at Iowa's schedule to see how long they've scheduled Iowa State for, pretty much until 2028. So it'll be interesting to see how sort of these contracts pop up, not just with the scheduling agreements themselves, but I mean we already talked about with all the TV media deals and potentially. Just throwing it out there, like the Big 12 splitting its football and basketball contracts, potentially. I don't know. There's just a lot of unanswered questions, but I think I can summarize it in one thing. I feel like this Big Ten SEC shot, the Big Ten and the SEC kind of isolating the other fan bases is not because of those fan bases. I think this is kind of more of a plot and a scheme to finally get Notre Dame to join the fold, knowing that one, we already seen the 12-team playoff already limit Notre Dame from getting the top 4 spots. So in a way that was, I feel as if I was kind of the first strike, but Notre Dame could probably adapt to it, like get as high as a 15, no big deal since they're not playing a conference championship game. I thought personally, Greg, we were going to see more of the at-large bids, like the Big Ten and the SEC getting like 4, and then the Big 12 ACC get 2. I thought that would have been one way to isolate Notre Dame first, but if that doesn't work out, then I suppose then you get
that's part of it. That's going to be part of this. So that protects the backsides of the Power 2.
Yeah. I feel as if this is more of a tactic from the Power 2 to get Notre Dame into the fold.
And with that, if let's take it a step further. If Notre Dame eventually makes that decision to join the Big Ten, the ripple effects on that are huge. It doesn't remain with Notre Dame because suddenly the ACC network is not worth as much. There's going to be more room possibly for Miami, Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina to possibly, move out of the conference eventually here in a few years. And so there's so much to a Notre Dame move that's just not, and that's going to affect Big 12 because there's going to be some opportunities. Notre Dame is a big threat, and if that gets pulled, boy, oh boy, a lot of things are going to change. Again.
Yes, I mean, essentially this gives the Big Ten an additional football power because you already got Oregon, Washington, and USC to kind of counterpart with what the SEC did with Texas and Oklahoma. But now you're pretty much adding the crown jewel in Notre Dame while the SEC is still kind of looking for answers. And I think it comes down to this. Are you still interested, if you're the SEC, in going after several of the bigger football brands like Florida State and Clemson when you already got that same footprint with elite teams like Florida, Georgia, Alabama? Like it's pretty much, if you add Notre Dame to the Big Ten, you got pretty much the Big Ten and the SEC at the same exact level. So then it comes down to this: how does each conference kind of go further into entice their product? I think going to the Southeast will be the next approach for the Big Ten, and with the way Miami has been playing lately, getting several of the additional TV slots as well, a lot of exposure, and I believe Fox approved that. Correct, Greg?
Has Fox?
Has Fox approved Miami?
No, but they'd be they're interested in Miami. Nobody has been approved except for Notre Dame, and then and unofficially, only Notre Dame has been completely officially approved. But Miami is a Miami edition would have Fox. Fox would be interested in that edition. Yes.
So then you would likely go after Miami, presumably Florida State, if you really want to get down into the Florida market that just continues to grow every single year. And then the SEC, you already got your football powers. So you look at a little bit of a dampened ACC. And, I mean, you already mentioned North Carolina, Virginia. There's several of the markets that they want to get further north in, possibly entice more by basketball prowess. You mentioned as well as Kansas at one point as well. So, I mean, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a trajectory in terms of where things are heading, but I think everybody's alluded to it at this point, and even you mentioned it that the Big Ten is that their main priority is Notre Dame and to a lesser degree North Carolina, but Notre Dame is the crown jewel, and I think isolating everybody else to kind of do the scheduling agreement with the SEC, it pretty much forces Notre Dame's hand. So I think that's kind of a trajectory that we're leading towards.
Yeah, that's the peak for tonight. Yep.
Yeah, it sucks. I agree with Brian. It's not good, but I don't know. I'm just gonna enjoy watching my team every weekend.
Yep.
And we'll see how everything else goes, and
you got it.
See how everything else rolls. So appreciate it, Greg.
Yeah, appreciate the call, John. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
All right, we've been on the air for over 2 hours, 2 hours and 11 minutes. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash that like button if you like our content. Hit the thumbs down button if you did not like our content tonight. I want to thank everybody who donated, helping us keep the lights on here. I appreciate it so very much. Carson, Ryan Thomas, Kerry Golden Nose, Chris Hughes, C. Curtis, thank you so very much for all you guys' incredible generosity. I want to thank you, Ryan Thomas and others, for your beautiful phone calls and the chats. Thank you, everybody, for all your support. And again, tomorrow or Wednesday, we're going to be doing our picks against the spread. Keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you open up your notifications because we can come on live at any time. We could come on in the morning, at noon, at night. We came on late tonight because I got the go-ahead. Also, if I get the go-ahead and do that other story that we know that we've been working on, we're going to first deliver it in our Cloak and Dagger early peak members episodes. We could be dropping that tomorrow morning or Wednesday morning once I get the go-ahead. So we're working on a lot of things here at Peak Around the Corner. Tonight, the peak was in a few months. You're going to be hearing about it. There's going to be articles about it. If the Big Ten and the SEC nails down this scheduling agreement, the effect on Notre Dame will probably be pretty severe. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.